The phone rang once, twice. Then a stranger's voice said the words that made her world stop. The owner of this phone was just in a terrible accident. Are you his wife? For a few seconds, Ifeoma couldn't speak. She stared at her children who were dancing in the living room, waiting for their father to return from his short business run. No, she whispered. No, this must be a mistake. But it wasn't. That was the moment everything in her life fell apart. Hello viewers, before we continue with this amazing story, we would like you to be part of our family. Subscribe today and turn on the notification bell, watch to the end and don't forget to tell us where you're watching from. Now let's get back to the story. It was a bright Saturday evening in Port Harcourt. The sun had started to cool down, and the breeze was dancing through the curtains of their big sitting room. Ifeoma, a young woman in her late 20s, was laughing as she watched her two daughters, Zuri and Temi, argue over a TV remote. Their father, Mr. Toby, was expected home any moment. He had only gone out to sign some documents for one of his containers. He promised it would take just 30 minutes. The girls were so excited. Daddy is coming home. Temi shouted, running to the window. He said he has something special for us. Ifeoma smiled. Yes, Daddy never comes home empty-handed. A few minutes later, her phone rang. It was Toby's number. Hello, love, she answered with a big smile. But it wasn't his voice. Hello, Ma, the voice said. The owner of this phone was just in a serious accident along NTA Road. Are you his wife or sister? Ifeoma froze. I'm his wife, she stammered. What are you saying? What happened? You need to come quickly. Please come to Shell Junction. It's very bad. The call ended. Her phone dropped from her hand. Her legs gave way. The girls stopped playing and stared at their mother. Mummy, Zuriat, what's wrong? But Ifeoma didn't hear them. Her mind was blank. She grabbed her slippers, ran out of the house, and didn't even remember to lock the door. Ifeoma ran barefoot down the street like a madwoman. Her wrapper was loose, her hair messy, but she didn't care. Her mind was spinning. People called out to her as she ran past. Sister, where you day run go like this? Madam, are you okay? She didn't answer. She just kept running. By the time she reached Shell Junction, a crowd had already gathered. People were whispering, some pointing, others just staring in silence. Ifeoma pushed her way through. Please, where is the accident? My husband, his name is Toby. He drives a black Prado Jeep. He was coming back from work. Please tell me it's not true. Someone pointed toward a badly crushed car by the roadside. Ifeoma screamed. No, that can't be him. The black Prado was smashed. The front was gone completely. A big trailer had lost its brakes and crashed into several cars. His own was the worst. One of the policemen on duty walked toward her. Are you the wife? He asked quietly. Ifeoma nodded, her body shaking. We've taken the body to Meridian Hospital. I'm really sorry, madam. Her knees buckled. She let out a loud cry and fainted right there on the road. She woke up later in a hospital bed. The ceiling above her was spinning. Her head was heavy. For a second, she thought it was a dream. Then she saw the drip attached to her hand. Then she remembered. No, God, please, she whispered. Please don't let it be true. A soft voice from across the room broke her thoughts. My dear, I'm sorry for your loss. It was an older nurse, standing by her bed with kind eyes. Ifeoma turned away, tears pouring down her face. Don't talk to me about loss, she snapped. You don't know what I'm feeling. The nurse nodded slowly. You're right, but I lost my husband 2 years ago. I know that pain. Ifeoma said nothing. She closed her eyes tightly, wishing everything could go back to normal. Suddenly, she remembered. My daughters, she gasped. I left them at home alone. The nurse, whose name tag read Nurse Rose, quickly picked up Ifeoma's phone from the bedside table. Your phone has been ringing, she said. I think your children were calling. Ifeoma grabbed the phone with shaky hands and answered the last missed call. Mommy! Mommy, where are you? Zuri's voice came through the speaker. Why are you not home? Where is Daddy? Ifeoma broke down crying. Mommy, are you crying? Temi's voice joined. Are you and Daddy okay? Ifeoma sniffled and wiped her face. Yes, baby. Everything is okay. Just eat the food I left for you and sleep. Mommy will be home soon. Okay, Zuri replied. But promise us Daddy will tell us a story when he comes. Ifeoma looked at Nurse Rose and couldn't answer. Her heart was shattering. After the call ended, Nurse Rose sat beside her. You have to go home soon. Your daughters need you now more than ever. I don't know how to face them, Ifeoma whispered. What will I tell them? That their father is gone forever. Tell them you love them. And be strong for them. Ifeoma wiped her tears again and nodded slowly. Will you help me get home? Nurse Rose smiled. Of course, I'll take you there myself. That night, around 11 p.m., a car pulled into the compound of the family's house. Zuri and Temi were sitting outside in their pajamas, waiting for their parents. Their eyes lit up when they saw the car lights. Daddy is back, Temi shouted. But when the car door opened, it wasn't their father. It was a woman in a nurse's uniform. The girls froze. Good evening, the nurse said gently. Are you Zuri and Temi? Yes, Zuri replied cautiously. Who are you? Where is our mummy? I brought her home. She's just very tired. The gate man, who had also come out, helped carry Ifeoma, now fast asleep, into the house. The girls followed closely behind. Will Daddy come tomorrow? Temi asked, her voice soft. Nurse Rose knelt down beside her and nodded slowly. Yes, baby. But for now, sleep beside your mummy. Everything will be fine soon. Zuri said nothing, but deep inside her, she knew something was terribly wrong. But then she looked to her side and saw her two daughters curled up beside her, their small hands holding her wrapper tightly. And then she remembered everything. The accident, the hospital, the voice on the phone, the crushed car. The truth. Toby was gone. Tears rolled down her cheeks again. She didn't want to get up. She didn't want to face the world. But just then, her older daughter stirred and opened her eyes. Good morning, Mommy, Zuri whispered, sitting up. Did you cry again? Ifeoma nodded slowly and pulled her close. Yes, baby. But I'll be okay. I promise. Temi woke up next. Did Daddy go to work again? She asked, rubbing her eyes. Ifeoma's lips trembled, but she managed to smile. He's resting, sweetheart. Just as she stood up to go brush her teeth, a loud knock banged on the gate. Then voices followed. Open this gate now. We know you're inside. The gate man ran and peeked through the small hole. Outside were 3 angry-looking men, all dressed in dark clothes. Behind them were 2 older women and some men in traditional wear. The gate man was confused but had no choice. He opened the gate. They barged in like they owned the place. Ifeoma, where is that woman? The loudest one shouted as he entered the house. The noise woke up the children again. They sat up quickly, scared. Who are those people, Mommy? Temi asked, eyes wide. Your uncles, Ifeoma said softly, already feeling weak. She quickly tied her wrapper, took a deep breath, and stepped out of the room. As she walked into the sitting room, her eyes met the angry stares of the visitors. So you are still sleeping while our brother lies cold in the ground? One of them barked. I'm not sleeping, Ifeoma said, her voice calm. I'm grieving. Just like you. Grieving? Is this how to grieve? Inside air-conditioned house with food and peace. Another one mocked. You think we don't know what you're doing? You want to carry everything alone. Ifeoma stood tall. I don't understand. Carry what? One of the older women stepped forward, her face filled with fake pity. My daughter, you see, in our tradition, when a man dies without a male child, his family collects everything he left behind. The land, the cars, the business. It is our culture. Ifeoma looked around at them. And what about his wife? And his daughters? The oldest man, wearing a red cap, stepped forward. You have two options, he said. Either you return all the properties and move back to your family's house. Or you marry your husband's elder brother and stay. Ifeoma's mouth dropped open. Marry, what? God forbid. Then pack your load, the loudest man snapped. We'll collect the documents ourselves. Suddenly, Ifeoma's voice rose with power she didn't know she had. You people are mad. Is this why you came to my house? My husband just died, and all you can think about is land and buildings. Shut up there, one of the women yelled. You killed our brother. You used juju to trap him, and now you want to eat his wealth alone. At that moment, Zuri and Temi came out, confused and frightened. Mommy, what's happening? Zuriat. Ifeoma rushed to them and hugged them tightly. Nothing, baby. Go back to the room. But it was already too late. They had heard everything. The elders kept shouting. The uncles kept pointing fingers. One woman even tried to enter Toby's study room. But Ifeoma stood her ground. If you people don't leave this house now, I will call the police, she screamed. Call them, the youngest uncle shouted. This house is not yours. It's our brother's house. And by next week, you and these two girls must leave. With that, they stormed out. The gates slammed shut behind them, but the echo of their visit stayed behind. Zuri held her mother's hand. Mommy, are they really taking our house? Ifeoma knelt down and hugged her tightly. Not if I can help it. Not while I'm still breathing. That night, Ifeoma sat alone in the kitchen, the light bulb above her flickering weakly. The girls had gone to bed, but she couldn't sleep. Her chest was heavy. Her mind refused to rest. Everything was moving so fast. 3 weeks ago, her family was happy. Her husband was alive. They had food, comfort, and peace. Now, he was gone. His brothers were circling like vultures. And she was expected to roll over and give up everything? God, why? She whispered. What did I do to deserve this? She didn't hear the gate open. She didn't hear the door creak. It wasn't until she heard soft footsteps behind her that she turned around quickly. It was Nurse Rose. Auntie. Ifeoma blinked in surprise. Sorry, I didn't mean to startle you, Nurse Rose said with a small smile. The gate man let me in. I brought you something to eat. She held out a small cooler. Yam porridge. It's hot. I cooked it myself. Ifeoma felt tears rise again, but this time they were different. This woman, this stranger, was the only person who had shown her love since her husband died. You didn't have to, Auntie. I did, Nurse Rose replied, setting the food down. You're not alone. They sat together, and Ifeoma told her everything. The visit from the family, the threats, the fear. I don't know what to do, Ifeoma said, wiping her eyes. My husband didn't leave a will. I never even asked about his business. He handled everything. Then it's time you start learning, Nurse Rose said firmly. You can't fold your hands. You have daughters. You must fight for them. But how? His brothers have already taken over one shop. They even changed the locks. Do you know where his lawyer is? Ifeoma nodded. Yes. I'll go there tomorrow. Good. And go with boldness. No more tears. If you show weakness, they'll crush you. Ifeoma took a deep breath and nodded slowly. I'll do it. For my girls. For Toby. The next day, Ifeoma dressed in plain black and went to the lawyer's office. It was a tall building in Jur, clean and quiet. The receptionist welcomed her politely. Barrister Deli isn't in yet, but you can wait in his office. Ifeoma nodded. Thank you. She sat quietly in the office, staring at the books on the shelf. One book caught her eye, Family Property and Custom in Nigerian Law. She sighed. These laws were clearly not written to protect women like her. She was still deep in thought when, far across town, Barrister Deli was sitting in a cafe, not alone. Opposite him was Toby's older brother, Mr. Felix, the same one who shouted the loudest in her house yesterday. They weren't drinking tea for fun. They were planning something. Barrister, Felix said with a crooked smile. You know my late brother's wife is trying to claim everything. That can't happen. The lawyer raised a brow. Your brother didn't leave a will. The law might side with her. Felix smiled wider. Then we need the law to bend a little. I'm ready to pay good money. The lawyer folded his arms. How good? There's a house, Felix said. My brother was building it in secret. He wanted to gift it to his wife. It's almost finished. Take this case for us, and the house becomes yours. The lawyer hesitated. He had debts, serious ones. The bank had threatened to shut down his practice. This offer was tempting. Very tempting. He rubbed his chin slowly. Let me think about it. Felix leaned forward. But don't take too long. She's on her way to your office. The lawyer's eyes widened. She's what? Felix grinned. She's probably there already. She left the house before me. Barrister Deli stood up immediately. I'll call you later. Meanwhile, Ifeoma was still waiting quietly in the lawyer's office. She didn't know she had just walked into a trap. She didn't know the man she came to for help had already started planning to betray her. But one thing was sure. If she didn't move fast, her husband's empire would be snatched away from her piece by piece, and her daughters would be left with nothing. The door opened with a soft click. Barrister Deli walked in, smiling like nothing was wrong. He wore a sharp navy blue suit, neat glasses, and carried a brown leather file. On the outside, he looked professional and calm, but inside, his heart was racing. Not from fear, from guilt. Ifeoma, he said, pretending to be surprised. I'm so sorry for keeping you waiting. I was stuck in traffic. It's okay, sir, she replied quietly. She looked tired, pale skin, swollen eyes, a wrapper tied tightly around her waist, and a pain that words couldn't explain. He gestured to the chair across from him. Please sit, he said. How can I help you? She sat slowly, clutching her handbag like it held her whole life. I came because I don't know where to start, sir. My husband died in an accident. Now his family wants everything. They say because he had no male child, his property belongs to them. Deli nodded, pretending to be shocked. I'm really sorry to hear that. Such things are common. Tradition can be harsh. Yes, but is it legal? She asked, her eyes searching his face. Can they just take everything? He adjusted his glasses. Did your husband leave a will? No, she said softly. He never did. I begged him to write one, but he kept saying there was time. The lawyer leaned back in his chair, hands crossed on his stomach. This was exactly what Felix said. No will means this will be tricky, he said slowly. In the eyes of the law, all assets may have to be shared equally between the children and the extended family, especially in cultures where male children are preferred. But that's not fair. Ifeoma cried. What about me? What about my daughters? I was his wife. I understand, he said, keeping his voice calm. But in these kinds of cases, it's usually settled in court. That means time and money. Ifeoma looked down at her hands. I don't have much money, but I'm ready to fight. I'll do whatever it takes. The lawyer tapped his pen against the table. This case will be expensive. The family has already approached me, but I told them I'm not taking sides. But Ifeoma didn't notice the way his eyes flickered. I want to hire you, she said firmly. My husband trusted you. So I will too. The lawyer forced a smile. Of course. I'll do everything I can to help. They shook hands. But as she walked out of his office, a dark thought crossed his mind. The land papers Felix gave me, that house alone is worth millions. He picked up his phone and sent a quick text. She just left. I'll handle everything from my end. Back at home, Ifeoma sat in the living room staring at her husband's framed photo on the wall. She had just told a lawyer to help her, but why did her heart still feel heavy? Her daughters came out of the room holding a drawing they made together. Look, Mommy, Zuri said. It's Daddy, Yumi, and Temi. In heaven, but we're still smiling. Ifeoma took the paper and looked at it. Stick figures holding hands. A sun above. And a cloud with the word, Daddy's watching, written in small letters. She burst into tears. Temi hugged her leg. Don't cry, Mommy. Daddy said he'll always be with us. Yes, Ifeoma said, wiping her tears. And Mommy is going to fight for you. No matter what it takes. The next day, while Ifeoma took the girls to school, her husband's younger brother showed up at one of the shops again. This time, he brought a new signboard. Felix Autos, under new management. He nailed it up boldly, smiling as people passed and stared. He turned to the manager. No one should mention my brother's name again. This is my shop now. Yes, sir, the manager replied. He had no choice. The man who paid him had changed. Meanwhile, the girl's teacher walked Ifeoma to the gate after school. Your daughters are doing well, she said with a smile. But Zuri drew something strange today. What did she draw? Ifeoma asked. The teacher showed her a picture. A house, burning in red crayon, and a woman crying outside. Above the drawing were 3 words. They want war. Ifeoma's hand trembled. She forced a smile. I'll talk to her. But as she left the school that day, she knew something in her spirit. This fight had just begun. And it was about to get very ugly. 3 days later, Ifeoma returned to her husband's main office building. She had been avoiding it, but now she had no choice. I need answers, she whispered to herself as she walked into the familiar compound, the same place where she used to bring Toby food and sometimes wait for him in the car with the girls. She noticed something strange right away. 2 new guards at the gate, faces she didn't recognize. They didn't greet her. They didn't even smile. She walked in quietly. But as soon as she tried to enter the main office, one of the guards blocked her. Madam, sorry. You're not allowed inside. Ifeoma blinked. What do you mean I'm not allowed? This is my husband's company. We were given instructions, the guard said coldly. Only staff and management are allowed in. Who gave the instruction? She asked, her voice rising. Mr. Felix, the man answered without emotion. At that moment, Ifeoma felt her knees go weak again. Felix? The same brother who told her she'd be thrown out of her own house? She turned around slowly and walked back to her car, her heart burning. She didn't cry this time. The tears were gone. What she felt now was war. At home, she called Nurse Rose again. I'm tired, she said over the phone. I'm tired of being pushed around like a child. I was hoping you'd say that, Nurse Rose replied. It's time to fight smart. Do you know any of your husband's close friends? Ifeoma thought for a moment. Just one. His name is Desmond. He's into real estate. My husband trusted him. But talk to him. See if he knows anything that can help you. Later that evening, Ifeoma called Desmond. His voice was quiet when he picked up. Ifeoma, he said. I heard what happened. I'm so sorry. Thank you, she said. Please, I need your help. My husband's brothers are trying to take everything. I don't know what to do. Desmond was silent for a moment. Then he sighed. I knew they would do this, he said. Your husband mentioned it once. He told me, if anything happens to me, don't let them take what belongs to my family. Ifeoma's eyes widened. He said that. He said he didn't trust them. That's why he had been working on something behind the scenes. What was it? A private investment. A property. He never told them about it. And he was planning to put it in your name. Ifeoma's hand flew to her mouth. Do you know where it is? Desmond nodded. I'll send you the address. But be careful. If they find out, they'll come for it too. That night, Ifeoma couldn't sleep. She kept replaying Desmond's words in her head. There was still hope. Somewhere out there, her husband had been planning to protect her. She had to find that property before the vultures did. But the next day brought something worse. She received a letter from the lawyer. It was brief and cold. To Mrs. Ifeoma Toby. Subject: property distribution according to customary law. This letter is to notify you that the family of the late Mr. Toby has formally requested a legal review of all assets left behind. Due to the absence of a written will, and based on the custom of the late Mr. Toby's village, it is advised that the family takes primary ownership of the properties, lands, and business establishments. Ifeoma read it 3 times. It was from the same lawyer she had begged to help her. The same lawyer who had promised to fight for her. She dropped the paper slowly. Her hands were shaking. That man betrayed me. She stared into space for a while. Then she picked up her phone and called Nurse Rose. Plan B, she said calmly. I'm ready. Let's fight. Nurse Rose arrived that same afternoon, wearing her usual uniform and holding a small notebook in her hand. She met Ifeoma in the kitchen, where she was sipping hot tea and staring at nothing. I read the letter, Rose said as she sat down. So, the lawyer has shown his true color. Yes, Ifeoma replied coldly. He betrayed me. And now, Rose continued, we use it against him. Ifeoma raised her head slowly. How? Nurse Rose opened her notebook. First, we gather every single document in this house, land papers, receipts, business licenses, anything with your husband's name on it. I have a drawer, Ifeoma said quickly. Toby used to keep documents there. Perfect, Nurse Rose replied. We make copies. And then we find a new lawyer. One who isn't sleeping with the enemy. Ifeoma smiled faintly. And how do we know who to trust? We don't, Rose answered. But I know someone. Her name is Barrister Amaka. She's a woman. Smart. Fearless. And she hates injustice. Where is she? She lives in town. I'll take you there tomorrow. That night, Ifeoma didn't sleep. Instead, she sat on the floor of Toby's old study, pulling open drawers, checking files, separating documents. Her daughters came in at one point. Mommy, what are you doing? Zuri asked sleepily. Mommy is doing Daddy's work now, she replied with a small smile. Go and sleep, my loves. They left quietly. Hours later, Ifeoma had a pile of files stacked on the floor, deeds, receipts, and even a bank slip for a property she didn't know existed. She held the paper close. Toby, I won't let them destroy everything you built. I swear it. The next day, Nurse Rose drove her to meet Barrister Amaka. She was a slim woman in her early 40s, wearing a smart brown blazer and reading glasses. Her office was small, but tidy. I've heard of your story, Barrister Amaka said, motioning for Ifeoma to sit. And let me tell you now, what they're doing is evil. Can we fight them? Ifeoma asked. Yes, the lawyer replied. But it will be tough. Do you have proof of ownership? Ifioma opened her bag and placed the copies on the desk. Everything I found is here. Barrister Amaka flipped through the files, her eyes lighting up. This is gold, she whispered. They lied to you. These documents can protect you. This paper here shows joint ownership. You were part of the company, even if only by name. Ifioma leaned forward. So what now? We take them to court, the lawyer said simply. I'll file a legal warning letter today that will stop them from touching any more of your husband's business until a judgment is passed. What about the corrupt lawyer? Barrister Amaka smiled. Leave him to me. I'll drag his license through the mud. 2 days later, Felix received a shocking letter from the new lawyer. He read it 3 times, growing angrier with each line. This is a formal warning. Do not tamper with the property or business holdings of the late Mr. Toby until the case is resolved in court. Any action taken without legal approval will be seen as theft. Felix crushed the paper in his hand. Who is this Barrister Amaka woman? He shouted. How did she even get involved? Across the room, his younger brother shook his head. I told you, that woman is not weak. She will regret this, Felix said through gritted teeth. Back in her house, Ifioma sat with her daughters after dinner. Zuri rested her head on her lap. Mommy, are the bad people still coming? Ifioma kissed her forehead. Not anymore. Mommy is stronger now. Temi giggled. Because you're wearing your war face. Ifioma laughed softly. But deep inside, she knew something. The battle had just started. And while she had made her first move, her enemies were planning their next. 2 weeks passed. The court case had been filed. The shops were locked by court order. Felix and his brothers could no longer touch the business, at least not in public. But Ifioma knew better. Men like them never stop in the open. They work in the shadows. One quiet evening, just after putting the girls to bed, Ifioma received a strange visitor. She opened the door and saw a man in a black suit. He looked like someone from the city council, clean but unfriendly. Good evening, madam, he said. You've been reported for illegal occupation of this property. I was sent to serve you a quit notice. Ifioma's face dropped. What? The man handed her a brown envelope, nodded stiffly, and walked away. She tore it open quickly. Her hands shook as she read the paper. This property is under dispute. You are hereby instructed to vacate the premises within 7 days pending investigation. She couldn't breathe. She sank into the chair beside the door. No, not again. She picked up her phone and called Barrister Amaka. Hello. Barrister, they want to throw me out of my own house. Who? Amaka asked sharply. A man just brought a quit notice. They're claiming the house is not legally mine. Don't panic, the lawyer said calmly. It's fake. Probably arranged by your brother-in-law to scare you. Do you still have the documents from the house? Yes. Good. I'll send someone to deliver a court injunction first thing tomorrow morning. They can't touch you. Ifioma nodded, but her heart still pounded. She stood up, locked the door, checked every window, then sat in the dark holding her phone. Suddenly, a loud knock came at the gate. Boom, boom, boom. She jumped. Open this gate now, a man shouted. You think you're smart? You'll leave that house by force. It was Felix. And he wasn't alone. 2 of his brothers were with him. Ifioma ran to the girls' room. Zuri and Temi were already awake, shivering under their blanket. Mommy, what's going on? Nothing, babies, she said softly. We're safe. Just stay here. She called the police. Please, she whispered. There are dangerous men outside my house. They want to forcefully enter. Stay calm, madam. We're sending a patrol team now. 20 minutes later, flashing blue lights appeared at the gate. The shouting stopped. Felix and his brothers quickly got into their car and drove off. The police knocked on the door gently. "Madam, are you okay?" Ifeoma nodded, tears in her eyes. "Yes. Thank you." They wrote down a statement and promised to increase patrol in her area. By morning, the story had spread like wildfire. Widow fights greedy in-laws in bitter land dispute. It was all over blogs, social media. Even small newspapers picked it up. Felix was furious. "These women have started painting me like a criminal," he screamed to his brothers. But behind closed doors, his plans were worse. Ifeoma didn't know it yet, but they were preparing to forge new documents, fake land papers, fake court letters, and even try to bribe witnesses. Meanwhile, back at home, Ifeoma sat with Nurse Rose, sipping tea. "I don't know what's next," she said. "They'll stop at nothing." "Then we won't stop either," Rose replied. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out something surprising, a voice recorder. "What's that?" "I recorded your lawyer the day I met him in court. He was talking to Felix outside. He didn't know I was watching." She pressed play. Felix's voice came through the tiny speaker. "Just drag the case, barrister. The more time we waste, the more pressure she'll feel. She'll give up." Ife gasped. "You recorded this?" Rose smiled. "I always prepare for war." Ife's eyes lit up. For the first time in weeks, she felt real hope. "Let's go and destroy them," she said. And just like that, the game changed. The next morning, Ifeoma sat in Barrister Amaka's office with Nurse Rose beside her. They both looked serious. No more fear. No more shaking hands. No more begging. Just one goal: finish this fight. Amaka plugged the voice recorder into her laptop and played the audio loud. Felix's voice came through clearly again. "Just drag the case, barrister. The more time we waste, the more pressure she'll feel. She'll give up." Amaka's jaw tightened. "So the other lawyer was playing both sides," she said. "Yes," Rose confirmed. "He took a bribe. He's part of their plan." Amaka smiled. "Then we'll expose him." She picked up her phone and made a call. "Good morning. Please connect me to Barrister Ojo at the Bar Association office." She waited. Then her voice changed to something sharp and professional. "Yes, sir. This is Barrister Amaka. I have evidence of misconduct and bribery involving one of your registered members, Barrister Deli. Yes, I'm submitting the report this afternoon with audio proof." She ended the call and turned to Ifeoma. "That's step 1. What's step 2? Ifeoma asked. Amaka smirked. "We hit Felix with a lawsuit so hard he won't know what hit him." That evening, Felix was sitting in his office when his phone buzzed. One new message. He opened it and saw 3 things. A court date. A copy of the lawsuit. A warning. Attempting to take property unlawfully is a criminal offense. His hand shook. He called Barrister Deli immediately. "What's going on? Why is Amaka suing me personally?" Deli's voice came through quietly. "Because they found a recording." "Recording?" "Yes. Someone recorded us talking that day at the court entrance." Felix slammed the phone against the desk and shouted, "Who did this?" Back in her home, Ifeoma was sitting with her daughters in the kitchen, eating hot jollof rice and laughing for the first time in weeks. "Mummy," Zuri asked, "are the bad people gone?" Ife smiled. "Not yet. But they're running now." Temi clapped. "But that means Daddy can rest in heaven, right?" "Yes," Ife replied. "And he's proud of us." But just when things were starting to feel safe again, trouble came knocking once more, and this time it came wearing a friendly face. One of Toby's cousins, a quiet man named Cyril, visited the house. He had always kept his distance during the fight, but now he came with a soft tone and smiling lips. "Sister Ifeoma," he said, "I just want peace. Let's settle this like family. We don't need court. Let's just sit down and share everything. Ifeoma stared at him for a moment. Share what exactly? The house, the shops, let everyone take small, he said. At least for peace to reign. She stood up slowly. So that's why you came? To act like a peacekeeper but push your own agenda. Cyril raised his hands. No now. I'm not sharing anything with people who tried to destroy my life. Not after everything. But this court case, won't it be shameful? Ifeoma narrowed her eyes. Shame didn't stop you people from storming my house like thugs. Don't talk to me about shame. Cyril sighed and stood up. You've changed, Sister Ife. No, she said firmly. I finally woke up. That night, Nurse Rose stayed over. While they sat together, she said quietly, You know this is just the beginning, right? I know, Ifeoma replied. But I'm ready now. I was quiet because I was scared. But fear didn't protect me. What will you do after this? Rose asked. Ifeoma looked up at the ceiling. I'll rebuild my husband's company from the ground up. For my daughters. And for every widow out there who thinks silence is safety. They sat in silence after that, but the fire between them said enough. The courtroom was quiet. Too quiet. Ifeoma stood at the side with Barrister Amaka, dressed in a simple black gown and flats. Her hair was packed neatly, her face free of makeup. She looked tired, but strong. Solid. Unbreakable. On the other side, Felix stood with his brothers, faces hard like stone. Their new lawyer, a bulky man in a gray suit, whispered something to them. Judge Bello entered, wearing his robe with authority. All rise. Everyone stood. This case is between Mrs. Ifeoma Toby and the family of the late Mr. Toby, the clerk read aloud. Case number 4521, ownership dispute, unlawful entry, and attempted seizure of property. Ifeoma swallowed hard. Then she felt a soft hand grip hers. Nurse Rose was seated right behind her. You've got this, Rose whispered. Barrister Amaka stood first. She was calm, confident. My lord, we are here because a grieving widow has been attacked from all sides by the same people who should be protecting her. Her husband died, leaving her with 2 young daughters and a home they built together. Instead of peace, she was given threats. Instead of comfort, she was forced out of her husband's business. She walked slowly across the courtroom. We have with us property documents showing joint ownership, audio evidence of threats and bribe negotiations, and medical reports proving trauma to both the widow and her children after multiple attacks on their home. She paused and looked directly at Felix. We are not here to fight tradition, my lord. We are here to remind everyone that no tradition is greater than justice. People in the courtroom murmured quietly. Then it was Felix's lawyer's turn. He stood, smirking. My lord, it is unfortunate that emotions are being used to distract from truth. The deceased had no male child. By the customs of his people, his properties fall to his brothers. The wife, being an outsider, cannot claim ownership. Judge Bello leaned forward. Was there a will? No, my lord. Then did the wife ever contribute to the business or sign any ownership papers? Felix's lawyer froze. Barrister Amaka stood up again. She did, Your Honor. And I have copies. She handed them to the bailiff, who took them to the judge. Judge Bello adjusted his glasses and read silently. Then he looked up. Mr. Felix, did you try to evict this woman from her house without a legal order? Felix opened his mouth. No, sir. I only sent someone. Did you bribe her former lawyer to delay the case? Silence. Felix's lawyer coughed nervously. My lord, there's no. Amaka played the audio aloud. Just drag the case, barrister. The more time we waste, the more pressure she'll feel. Gasps filled the courtroom. Judge Bellow's voice dropped. This court will not allow injustice in the name of tradition. Any further interference with the widow's property, safety, or finances will be met with legal punishment. Felix and his brothers stood frozen. The judge banged his gavel. Next hearing, we decide full ownership. But for now, all properties are to remain under Mrs. Ifeoma's protection. No family member is allowed within 200 meters of her residence or her children's school. Bam! The gavel fell again. Court was adjourned. Outside, the sun hit Ifeoma's face as she stepped out of the building. Her hands were shaking, but this time, not from fear. From relief. From strength. From power. Rose hugged her tightly. You did it. No, Ifeoma said softly. We did it. But across town, in a dark office, Felix sat with his phone to his ear. They're winning, he said quietly. The voice on the other end replied. Then it's time we stop playing clean. Felix smiled darkly. Let the real game begin. Thank you everyone for watching the part 1 of this story to the end. Tell me in the comment section if you enjoy the story. Comment part 2. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. See you on the next one.